Traitors has been a global phenomenon, attracting fans with its cunning gameplay and social dynamics. Deriving from a popular game known as Mafia or Werewolf, players are selected at random to be the killers. They must successfully take out the others in the group, going unnoticed until the end. After each murder, the group votes who they suspect the murderers to be. When examining this game through a sociological lens, it's clear to see why the same human behavior repeats itself through all iterations of the game, and most dauntingly, in day-to-day life. To start, I'd like to dissect a quote. An informed minority is more powerful than an uninformed majority. This concept comes from Dmitry Davidov, a Russian psychology student who coined the phrase in 1986 to explain the premise of his newly invented game, Mafia. Notoriously, the few traitors chosen have a greater chance at success compared to the larger group of faithfuls. The key advantages traitors hold is the ability to murder and the knowledge of who is faithful versus traitor. This notion can be best seen at the start of each game. Most roundtables in the beginning of the game are blind votes, simply narrowing in on random behavior, personal biases, backroom conversations, and attributing it to traitorous actions. In Season 1 of Traitors UK, Ivan Brett was targeted for his silence, which was deemed as suspicious. He was indeed not a traitor, and simply a faithful getting his footing in the game. So why was his silence perceived as traitorous? Based on human psychology, silence can be interpreted as withholding secrets. Many powerful people preach the art of saying less than necessary, as the less you speak reduces the margin for people to misinterpret your words or use them against you. However, in a game like Traitors, people are relying on the group to contribute to a greater goal for the collective. Thus, silence can be seen as duplicitous, not only because the person might be hiding a secret, but also a failure to act within the group. In Season 2 of Traitors US, the same mindset was used towards a different player, Dan Giesling. And this time, they were right. Dan was known in Big Brother to be a sneaky player, and his silence was one of strategy, which was sniffed out early by the faithfuls. Therefore, it's hard to penalize the faithfuls for finding quiet players suspicious, as it's a logical gameplay for a traitor to use. Though, as seasons continue, this strategy has become a dangerous play, as people are far more weary of the silent ones. On the other side of the pendulum, saying too much or the wrong thing can also be seen as traitorous. Another infamous example of an early banishment is Peppermint from Season 2 of Traitors US, who was targeted after a harmless joke she made at another player, Trishelle Canatella. This banishment on the surface can be chalked up to a misunderstanding. However, when examining further, it would be foolish to ignore deeper biases at play. Peppermint is a Black transgender woman, which means she already has many biases against her, not only in society, but within the game. She didn't speak more or less than anyone in the group at the time, yet was targeted over words getting twisted into something they were not. This points to a larger problem in our society, where those who are different than us are targeted unfairly. Though people in the game, and in life, may claim not to have any racial or homophobic biases, microaggressions can be observed, and those enacting it are often blindly unaware. Traitors UK Season 3 also had backlash in the media when Kaz Ahmed was banished due to similar biases. So, was this a simple misunderstanding or a much deeper, darker issue in human behavior and psychology? I'll let you decide. Throughout the game, ordinary behavior is continually perceived as suspicious. Quietness could mean you're hiding something. Calmness, maybe you're over-controlled. Emotional expression can be seen as overreacting. Nervousness, maybe you're caught in a lie. Analytical thinking, you're overinterpreting. Confusion, playing ignorance. In a game where even the slightest raise of the eyebrow can draw suspicion, players are likely to cling on to random biases and get swept up in theories that normally conclude with a faithful being banished. Once again, the knowledge of a few is able to triumph over the collective, as traitors can play into silly theories, garnering groupthink to the max, getting faithfuls to target faithfuls until the end. Many contestants change their behavior, constantly monitoring not only others but themselves automatically. Michael Foucault wrote about this in Discipline and Punish in 1957, describing the panopticonic prison dynamics is to, quote-unquote, arrange things so that the surveillance is permanent in its effects, even if it is discontinuous in its actions. When being watched constantly, people begin to modify their behavior internally, even when no one is watching. Thus, there becomes a self-policing community, which leads to the traitors' actions holding power through the faithful's continuous suspicions and mutual regulation of each other's behavior. So, how does one thrive in this game as a faithful, knowing any action or inaction might be up for scrutiny? How does one appear faithful enough not to get banished, yet valuable enough for the traitors not to kill them? One player who almost achieved this was Nick Muhammad in Celebrity Traitors. Everybody in the group believed he was a faithful, and looked towards him for guidance in the game. So why wasn't he killed by the traitors? He had suspicions around Kat from the start, yet, instead of openly targeting her, he appealed to her gameplay. If you suspect someone as being a traitor, it is of your greatest interest to befriend them, using the traitor as a guardian angel of sorts to ensure your safety each night. Nick's biggest fumble happened towards the end of the game, where he misinterpreted Joe Marler's kind words towards Kat as traitorous, once again emphasizing how normal behavior can be seen as suspicious at any point in the game. Meanwhile, Alan Carr had made many missteps, even going so far as to laughing in the faithful's face when stating, "I'm a faithful." So why wasn't Alan caught sooner? Well, this is the magic of reputation. Unlike some iterations of the show, Traitors US and Celebrity Traitors cast known public figures, each with unique reputations. Much of the justifications for celebrity traitor banishments were followed with the statement, "I think you'd be a great traitor." Players like Stephen Fry could not outrun their reputations. Stephen is known for his dazzling mind, thus, when he repeatedly voted incorrectly, it brought into question why a seemingly intelligent person was not living up to his reputation. This was interpreted as him feigning ignorance, and when you're known for being smart, you can't play dumb. Funnily enough, Stephen wasn't trying to. He just didn't have the information needed to make smart decisions, leading to his own banishment. On the other hand, Alan Carr's campy personality made him the perfect chameleon. Known for being a bit goofy, his smiles at breakfast and giggles at the round table were seen as Alan just being Alan. Yes, even him laughing when claiming to be a faithful or forgetting he had a shield was seen as a normal personality trait, therefore not raising suspicion. Only one cast member was locked in and ready to strike, which was Joe Marler. However, because of Joe's reputation and personality, he was seen as the traitorous one, leading to Nick Muhammad and David Olusoga, Olusoga, banishing him at the finals. My apologies, David. Alan Carr's gameplay reminded me of a quote by Niccolo Machiavelli. "Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are." Nuance is lost easily in these games, as people become tunnel-visioned on getting out traitors. Rarely are positive traits put into question, meanwhile negative ones are put under a microscope. Alan quickly adapted from feeling guilty to enjoying the kill. Occasionally, people would point out how, though he appears to be jovial and naive, he is smarter than people suspect. His confusion was a misdirect on how dialed in he actually was. Alan's ability to lower people's guards was seen as being personable, but really, it was his way of getting them to trust him. The same quote from Machiavelli can be used when examining Cerie Fields from Traitors US Season 1. Her reputation as a trustworthy and motherly figure garnered her trust amongst the faithfuls, to the point where her identity in the game was rarely up for question. Though a Survivor veteran, no one suspected her as being the godfather of the game, carefully manipulating the faithfuls at each stage until the finale where she revealed herself to be a traitor. Reputation holds a lot more power than initially given credit, even in seasons where people are unknown outside of the game. Many players lie about their occupation as to not draw further biases towards themselves. For example, doctors can be seen as logical and unafraid to make decisions without emotion. This can be a brutal reputation to overcome, as people will perceive you as cold-hearted and cunning, when the truth is probably more nuanced. We each have the ability to be kind or cruel. It is a matter of circumstance that brings out either or. In a game where people claim to be thinking logically time and time again, we see how feeling is a key part in decision-making. These feelings arise from biases players carry entering the game and how they feel being around other contestants. Reputation is a part of this feeling, as many would most likely pick a school teacher to be a faithful over an investment banker. Unfortunately for the faithful, much of how we are perceived is an act, even our reputations. Irving Goffman discusses this in The Presentation of Self in Everyday Life, written in 1957. To quote, "When an individual appears before others, he will have many motives for trying to control the impression they receive of the situation. For faithfuls and traitors, the goal is the same, to appear as part of the group, a faithful. The more trustworthy one can appear, the higher their reputation climbs as a faithful, with the inverse being true. When everybody is acting, the traitors once again hold the power in knowing who is playing the part and who isn't." Second to last, let's talk about the relationship between faithfuls and traitors. George Simmel wrote about this in his essay, The Sociology of Secret and of Secret Societies, written in 1960, stating, "Every relationship between two individuals or individual groups will be characterized by the ratio of secrecy that is involved in it." Simmel argues that the secrecy is not solely the absence of information, it is an active form of social organization that shapes group dynamics. This includes trust, suspicion, and power. In traitors, a small minority possess exclusive knowledge, holding structural dominance over the majority. Each night when the traitors murder someone, they are shaping game dynamics. Often, their decisions lead to confusion and further discourse in the group. This is why Simmel says, "The secret gives its possessor a position of exceptional advantage." The traitor's ability to operate covertly, disrupting the faithfuls night after night, gives them influence on where the group think will lean. It's an asymmetry of power that continually reorganizes social hierarchy within the game. Now, I wrote this before Season 4 of The Traitors came out, but across more than 50 international versions of the game, faithfuls have won 17 times, meanwhile, the traitors have taken home 31 wins. Two instances stand unique in the Traitors franchise, being Traitors Australia Season 2 and De Traitors. Once again, I'm so sorry for butchering that. De Traitors is essentially Dutch traitors, and this happened in Season 1. In Season 2 of Australian Traitors, 3 cunning traitors refused to share the prize pot, which led to no one winning the money. In the Dutch version, Season 1, a prisoner's dilemma was at play, where both traitor and faithful decided to split the money, along with giving a portion to the third finalist who was left out of the final decision, due to the original format. Why did a traitor decide to split the prize when they could have walked away with the whole lot? The Dutch version was a share or steal format, regardless of title. This was changed in Season 3 and is no longer at play in the Dutch version of the game. It seems as though the advantage of being a traitor truly shows fruitful in multiple iterations of the game, proving my earlier quote, "An informed minority is more powerful than an uninformed majority." In conclusion, we can learn plentiful from watching The Traitors, as all of what I discussed not only applies to the game, but real life. How many times have you misjudged someone off of their occupation? Did you ever suspect someone of lying or withholding a secret for being too quiet? Did you ever jump on a bandwagon due to groupthink? When looking at our governments, corporations, and players on the world stage, how often do they hold secrets over populations and get away with murder? Traitors, on the surface, is good TV. Underneath, it is a microcosm of society. It demonstrates human nature at its best and worst. My lingering question to you is this: in the game of life, are you a faithful or a traitor?